Hey, good morning, Carolina Weather Authority. Meteorologist Joshua Nagelberg here. And boy, was yesterday fun. I actually was traveling back from the Charlotte area to Raleigh last night, and I did avoid the worst of it, but we had some really rough weather, kind of that front that came through here last night. Had some white knuckle driving like this, and there were warnings out all over the place. Fortunately for me, I was able to kind of slide by behind the worst of it. So if you were out traveling last night, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And here's what's coming up in the hopper here. Make sure, of course, that you go to our YouTube site, Carolina Weather Authority, and subscribe to our channel if you already haven't. I see many of you have already subscribed, but there's plenty of room for others. So let's go ahead and take a look at our news stories. We, of course, have talked about the hurricane season picking up and perhaps being a big issue for us here later this summer. We've talked about the threat for some stronger storms, which we did have some warnings yesterday afternoon and evening. A lot of rain fell in some areas, and we'll have a new article out tonight that's going to kind of highlight what's going on this weekend into next week. And I'm going to talk about that some more because we definitely have some major weather still in our hair for a while, looks like. The current satellite image shows our front right now has actually pushed finally to the east of Raleigh and Charlotte, so we can dry out a little bit. A lot of cloud cover still in the wake of yesterday's rain, maybe some low clouds and fog to deal with, but a beautiful day looks like up at Beach Mountain, and if you're southeast of Charlotte, looks pretty good. Columbia should see some clearing as well. And then lots of sunshine back here over much of the eastern half of the U.S. So if you're at the beaches, you're not getting it. Sorry, guys. Radar shows our heaviest rain is right over the coastal plain, over the eastern Carolinas. We pretty much have expected that. And it's starting to dry out now across the Piedmont areas onto the west. The Storm Prediction Center does not have a threat of any severe weather over the next few days. It does highlight a risk for thunder with any showers over the eastern Carolinas. This is for today and tomorrow at the beaches. And then looks like maybe an increased chance with our next system on Sunday into the western Carolinas. Rain yesterday was very heavy in northern Durham and northern parts of Alamance counties. We probably saw, looks like 4 inches plus in a few spots. Albemarle as well got rocked. In fact, there were some high water rescues, unfortunately, last night. We did have heavy rain on the southeast side of Charlotte. A lot of rain fell in the coastal plain of South Carolina. So overall, your major reporting sites here picked up less than an inch, but there were some towns that got 3, 4, 5 inches. And if you've been reading our articles and watching our videos this week, you know that that certainly was on the table. And so it was just kind of a situation where some neighborhoods didn't get a lot and others were not so fortunate. Dew points this afternoon at noon are still quite high over the coastal plain, but starting to dry out in Raleigh. And look at Charlotte. We may dip down to 60 or below. The western Carolinas will be much more comfortable. This is a nice big cool high pressure system heading in our direction. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Looking at the rainfall accumulation from pivotalweather.com, this is rain for 6 hours ending this afternoon. You can see we will likely have some heavy rain, over an inch in some areas in the eastern Carolinas. And as we move this forward through this afternoon, it's still going to be a wet day. The Outer Banks will get in on it. And I love how this jumps. But as we head through tonight, still some showers expected over the coastal plain. And then tomorrow, unfortunately, looks wet at most of the beaches. And even if they're not getting new rain, it will stay cloudy and damp. So Saturday's not looking good at the beaches. Saturday night, maybe it improves a little bit. We could see some activity popping up ahead of our next disturbance Saturday night, Sunday morning in the western part of the Carolinas. And here's another surge of moisture coming right up the beaches for Sunday morning. So if you're planning on going to the beach this weekend, I'm going to say be prepared to stay inside. Here's Sunday. And maybe some heavy rain still possible. Next disturbance moves into the western Piedmont, so we could have some heavier showers and storms in the afternoon and evening hours on Sunday. And then Monday, that is going to fill in, and we are back to a wet pattern in areas that have finally dried out from yesterday's rain. So we get 2 days off here in Charlotte and Raleigh and Columbia and Greenville, South Carolina, and then it gets wet again, it looks like, early next week. Total rain through Sunday night, Monday morning, we're looking at an additional 2 to 3 inches over the coastal sections. less than an inch, and a lot of this will actually not occur until later on Sunday in the Piedmont, and then maybe some higher spots in the mountains and foothills for Sunday afternoon and evening. This is the GFS model. The European kind of shows the same thing. The European's a little bit wetter here in the Raleigh, Sanford areas for Sunday. So it looks okay today and tomorrow, but then it gets wet again. But look at this, some really nasty rain possible. Myrtle Beach is showing close to 7 inches. So definitely a washout this weekend at the beaches. The latest GFS model shows our front, which is still hung up. So there's high pressure that's blocking it over here. There's another big high over here that's sending our cool air in. But what we're going to see is yet another trough dropping southeast on Monday, and that's going to lead to more active weather in the mountains. It's also going to take our front and start to have it retreat back to the west. So we get maybe a couple days off, and then things get busy again. And look at next week. The GFS has been on this the most, but other models agree. We have another cutoff low pressure system, and this was something that we were banging our heads over back in May around the 20th. It was very wet and was cool, and guess what? Here we go again. So we're going to have an article tonight that's going to, unfortunately, spill the beans, if you want to call it that next week looks pretty darn wet. And if you've been following our seasonal forecast, you've known that we are expecting a wet summer, and this is definitely coming more into line as to what we've been really believing. By next weekend, this upper low finally moves away from the coast and will dry out and warm back up into a more summertime pattern. But next week looks cool and wet. Tropics have quieted down. We'll keep an eye on a wave moving through the southern Caribbean, but right now nothing is hatched out. So we're in good shape there. We just have to worry about rain here. All right, thanks everyone for joining us. Make sure to CYA with CWA. Go to our website and our Facebook page, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And look, guys, it's not looking too nice over the next week or so. So take advantage of cutting the grass today or tomorrow if you can. If you're at the coast, hate to say it, but you've missed that window of opportunity. All right, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll have more for you, and enjoy your Friday. Yay, Friday.